Hello and welcome to my very first ASMR video. I am the fabled librarian, and that means I am actually a librarian by trade. So if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, you can ask me in the comments, and I will try to answer if I see them. I enjoy research a lot. It's one of the reasons I like fables and fairy tales. Mythology, legends, they're all very interesting to me. And fables especially, I'll probably start with fables. But my goal is to tell them. Sometimes I'll be reading them. Sometimes I will be telling them from memory. And I will try to be as accurate as possible. But sometimes I do have a bad memory. But I will let you know when that is the case, if I'm not completely sure about something. But I think that the first fable I will talk about is one that I have always enjoyed, and I'm not really sure why, but I've always been drawn to this particular fable, and I think it's because it tells a lot about human nature, and I love things about human nature. I'm very into brain development in general. I like to figure out why people think in a certain way. But the scorpion and the frog is one of my favorite fables. So, if you don't know it, one day a scorpion needed to cross a river, but scorpions can't swim. So, he needed to find a way across the river. And he came upon a frog. Frogs can swim, right? So he asks this frog, "Can you help me get across the river? Can you give me a ride?" And the frog says, "No, of course not, because you will sting me and I will die." The scorpion, we've always met these type of people, right? He says, "No, of course I won't sting you. If I sting you while I'm on your back in the river, I will die because I can't swim." So the frog does think about it, And the frog screams because now he's starting to feel paralyzed. And he says, "Why would you sting me? Now we're both going to die." And the scorpion said, "I can't help it. It's in my nature." So, fables often teach a lesson. And what do you think the lesson is here? That sometimes people cannot go against their nature when they are a certain way. The scorpion stings. That's part of what it does. And it's poisonous. And there's not much that's going to change it. He knows that he's going to die, and he still stings the frog. So who is in the wrong here? I don't really know. Is it the frog for daring to believe that this is the case? That the scorpion is not going to be honest? I mean, how often do we encounter that in real life, right? Somebody says, "Oh, I won't do that," even though you kind of have a feeling that they will. They try to change and they can't. But it's interesting. That's why I enjoy fables, because they're usually based on something. I think another one, I realize these are going to be pretty short, but another one I like is the Tortoise and the Hare. You guys might be more familiar with this one. If you're not, then I will tell it to you, because it is interesting. So, we have a tortoise and a hare. And a hare is really fast, right? They're like a rabbit, and they hop, 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 hop. They're super fast. And a turtle moves very slowly. But what's the difference in their personalities, right? So the tortoise and the hare decide to have a race. And they have a crowd's gathered. They're arguing. He's like, "I think I'm gonna be faster than you." "No, I think I'm gonna be faster than you." But what do we think is gonna happen? Who do we think is gonna be faster? So they say, "On your mark, get set, go." And the hare is very full of himself. He's like, what we already know. You know, we want to learn how to use different equipment. You know, don't be afraid to try something new. Learn new information. Learn a new language. Learn a new language. I've always wanted to do that. I have a hard time. I don't think I know enough people who speak a different language. But the growth mindset would be, I can do it. I can do it. So, eventually I will do it. But it really goes along with how Tortoise was. He's like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. And Hare was like, this is too easy. You know, you can't teach me anything new. I'm already fast. But he needed to learn not to procrastinate and to stay focused in a way that the Tortoise was. So, that growth mindset of, I'm going to continue to do better. We all need to be a little bit more like the Tortoise sometimes. I know I do. So, what did you guys gain from this? Do you enjoy Fables? Do you enjoy fairy